welcome everybody. Thank you for spending some time today. Many partners that we work with, and many of the partners we actually use their products. So this is in the case one of them. Adam can go through some of the history of OpenText, but we started with them from the standpoint of previously the product is referred to as Carbonite, and previously before that it was eVault. So we use it in VAI operations, and also it's in our cloud operations. And just, I guess, as a one little note, we previously used other products and some homegrown products, but we wanted a solution that could run on every operating system and back up to one single location, whether it's IBM, Unix, Windows, Linux, whatever. You can back it up at all. So it consolidated everything and gave us good protection. And because we're backing up into the cloud, what everybody is worried about also is protection from ransomware and immutable backups. And with that, I will turn it over to Adam.
Great. Thanks so much, Kevin, and we appreciate your partnership over the years. I did a little research, and I think it's probably over 10 years now that we've partnered together, and seen a lot of changes within our organization, mostly with the names. So as Kevin mentioned, when VAI started partnering with us, we were known as eVault, which started back in the late 90s, backing up data for server environments, physical, virtualized environments to the cloud, which was pretty revolutionary at the times. Now there's a lot of players in this space. I think this slide does a good job of illustrating not just the growth of our company, where OpenText cybersecurity is going, but it also shows you a lot of the different brands that now encompass what OpenText is. So you might have some familiarity with eVault or Carbonite or WebRoot for cybersecurity. So it shows you that our company, we're not going anywhere. We're building more. We're continuing to develop this solution and others to give our customers and partners a holistic approach to cyber resilience and a great portfolio to help strengthen your security and data protection posture. So just wanted to kind of point out a lot of the names just so you know who's actually speaking today. When it comes to your data, there's been a lot of changes over the years, and especially over the past few years, as more and more people are now working from home. A lot of people joining this call here today, you might not be within the traditional four walls of the office. We have laptops in every living room and home office throughout the country. With that comes a lot of additional threats. So today we're really going to focus on servers, how we can back up mission critical data for your organizations. But just keep in mind that data is changing, and where data resides is different now and is continuously changing. And it's very important when looking at your overall data protection and data backup plan, you're protecting data no matter where it lives. So the three main points we'll touch upon today: number one, the server environments, followed by endpoints and cloud-based apps. So as Kevin mentioned in the beginning, this server solution can protect all different environments: IBM, Windows, Linux, physical, virtualized servers, as well as where those backups are being held. The reason you're protecting this data is because there can be corruption or hardware failure. But there's also those malicious attacks these days that are just growing in popularity and doesn't seem to be slowing with the rise of ransomware and other ills, similar to it. So it's important to have a solution that can not only combat that, but can also protect everything that you have in your environment from a single place to make things easy and really allow your team to maximize their time doing the important aspects of their jobs. Kevin, just to kind of bring you into the conversation, how have you seen server environments change? We've been partnering for 10 years, but you've been doing this, a lot longer. Any, comments on how server environments and how people protect it has changed over the years?
Well, the one that we both touched on is companies now don't just run one server. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, you might have had a primary server and desktops connecting to it, but today there's many different servers that you're utilizing. Also, there's cloud, and you might have hybrid clouds where you have on-premise servers, you have cloud-based servers that you need to connect, and you want a single backup for all of them. So there's a lot, and the complexities of all of these systems, and the knowledge of having to virtualize and so on, having one good backup solution and other security tools is essential today.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's easier to have everything in one place versus cobbling something together for all of the different systems. And just to finish the point here, endpoints. So those laptops and desktops that are no, sometimes are in the office, sometimes out of the office, traveling with you no matter where you go. That is a huge attack vector for a lot of those bad actors and a lot of those malware uh, versions that are out there. They're sitting outside the infrastructure. They're prone to user error, deleting things, whether on purpose or by accident. And there's a lot of unique data sitting on laptops that it's important to protect. And it's all about keeping business continuous, limiting the downtime, allowing your users to do their jobs and not worry about restoring data or worrying about where their files are. And then finally, something that's growing in popularity is cloud-based apps. A lot of people think that, I'm using Microsoft 365, all my emails in the cloud, Microsoft is taking care of it. But that's not the case. They do guarantee uptime, so you always have access to your data, but it's not backup. So even in a lot of these user agreements from Microsoft or Google or Box or Dropbox, they say you should seek out a third party. That way, you always have a pristine backup just in case something happens. And that's something in most cases is tied to the user, whether it's done by mistake or by maliciously. And it's important to have a lot of quick restore options to keep business moving along. And finally, it could be a compliance play. A lot of your organizations, you need to keep data for a certain amount of time, no matter where it resides. So I think this slide does a good job of showing where data is, the importance of protecting that data no matter where it resides, and a lot of the different ways that data loss can happen and how you can protect it. And with our Carbonite data management portfolio, we're able to match up a lot of those needs that organizations have today with purpose-built solutions. So Carbonite server is meant to back up servers, whether physical or virtual, whether it's iSeries or Linux or Windows, to give you exactly what you need, the type of backup you need, and more importantly, the type of restore options that you require to meet your downtime requirements. We also have endpoint protection for those laptops that are in your home offices and are traveling again, as well as cloud-to-cloud backup for any of your cloud-based apps, such as Microsoft 365 or Google. And finally, to round that out, information archiving. So the data that you might not need back immediately, but for compliance or your records purposes, you need to keep for an extended period of time. Anything from email to Twitter posts, social media posts, anything over 50 different types of applications, we're able to archive that data to make sure that you're checking all your boxes from a regulatory standpoint. So purpose-built solutions to meet your backup requirements. And now the topic of today, really the best practices for backup and recovery. I'll touch upon five different pieces here. The first is 3-2-1, which is commonly known as the best practice for the number of places where your data resides. So 3 is you have number 1, your production data. Number two, you have an on-site backup, which allows for fast restores just in case there's a server down or there's a file or folder that is deleted. You're able to use the speed of the network to restore something locally, and one off-site copy. In a lot of cases, that's going to be your cloud backup. So you should always have 3 copies of your data. Having an immutable backup. This is something that has become more, kind of ripped from the headlines these days with the rise of ransomware, which is having an immutable backup. And that concept is always having a clean copy of your most recent backup that ransomware cannot affect it. In a lot of cases, if you're doing on-prem or sort of with certain solutions, you're doing backups where if something's infected, you're backing up infected files and you're really tainting the whole pool of your data. So it's very, very important to have an immutable backup, something that cannot be tampered with and will always give you a point-in-time backup that is unaffected by ransomware. Kevin, just to tap you again here, when it comes to the immutable backups, is there a go-to policy or a go-to approach that VAI has with its customers about this?
Yes, we do. And from the standpoint of, I'll use our cloud as an example, where we have multiple clouds. So we obviously have hot copies with HA between the clouds, but each data center has their own local vault. So they back up locally to the local vault. So that's a local vault. Then those vaults back up to a master vault, and then that master vault backs up actually to Carbonite's cloud. So from the standpoint, we have 2 hot and typically four cold copies that we can refer to from the standpoint. So no matter what would happen, we're always going to be able to get to our data. And that's what we encourage with our customers from the standpoint of, always having some sort of local and cloud-based backup.
Great. Yeah, it's belts and suspenders. You can never have enough backups. So
Yeah.
that really kind of follows those first 2 best practices there about having enough copies and making sure there's always a copy that cannot be penetrated by ransomware or any sort of malware.
Yeah.
The third point here is having a holistic plan. So a few slides ago, I mentioned all the different areas where data resides. So having a foolproof plan for your server environment is great. However, do you have remote employees? Do you have data that is unique to those specific devices that are outside of your network? How quickly can you get data back from that? Are you using a cloud-based app that does not have a backup in place? Are you using an antivirus or DNS protection, something to monitor the content of your employees that are working remotely? So it's really important to layer the different data security, data management, data backup tools so they're all working in concert together and really having a plan for everything together. So you're really able to keep things out, but if something happens, have a plan for that next step. So it's really important to document these different tools and make sure they're working together to make sure that your environment is resilient and there is a plan to retrieve the data. Knowing your system is another important aspect of backup and recovery. And Kevin mentioned HA with how VAI deals with their customers. HA is high availability for mission critical and critical business information. Instead of having a backup, which can happen once a day or maybe more frequently, high availability gives you down to the minute, down to the second restore points where you can get your data back extremely fast. And again, it's a layered approach. You might not need that level of recoverability for all of your data, but do you have specific databases? Do you have your email server? Do you have specific services that your organization needs to run 24/7, 365? And it would really affect your business if it was down for longer than an hour or longer than a day. So breaking your system down into downtime requirements, and then having the appropriate backup and recovery approach for each is a great way to have a solid plan to recover if something happens. And finally, confidence through testing. At the end of the day, backup, it's really an insurance policy. And I think a lot of people, they don't have a lot of confidence in a tool until they see it working. So with our solutions here and with VAI, when a customer's onboarded, we love to perform a test just to make sure everybody's on the same page, documentation wise, as well as seeing it, that this is how the solution is going to work. When a system goes down, here are the steps that are taken to bring the system back up. So there's expectations of how long downtime is. There's documented steps of who is doing what in case of a file or a folder or an entire system going down. And since environments are fluid, living, breathing things these days where systems are being changed, new technology are being implemented, updates are happening. It's important to complete testing frequently. Maybe for your organization, it's once a quarter or twice a year, or having that once a year sort of cleanup where you know that if anything's changed, the documentation is updated, and you have that peace of mind that if something happens, these are the steps to restore your data. So really having that confidence by seeing your solution work with your data. To drill into the backup solution, Carbonite Server a little bit, mentioned right from the beginning, it's all in one. We're able to protect all of these different types of operating systems and applications, over 200, using the same solution. So you don't have to bounce back in between different solutions for different aspects of your environment. We're able to handle your IBM I. We're able to handle Windows, all from the same view, using the same agents and the same backup approach. So it gives you that familiarity with the tool that you're using, and also that scalability as your environment grows and changes over time. A big newer development for us is ransomware protection. We're going through all of the backups and all the different block level changes to make sure that ransomware has not penetrated them. And if we do find something like that through our scans, we'll flag it and give you the ability to restore back to a previous time before that malware potentially infected your systems. There's a lot of flexibility with the solution. So whether you want to go directly to the cloud or have an on-site backup to back up locally as well as to the cloud, maybe you have different branch offices that have different requirements where you're backing up at several locations, and then maybe an on-site appliance at the headquarters. We're able to really slice it or dice it any way that's needed. And finally, there's a lot of, we have 256-bit encryption, as well as data retention flexibility to make sure you're checking all the boxes that you have according to your data retention plan. Layering on top of Carbonite Server is our cloud disaster recovery option. So for all of your systems, or maybe a certain number of your systems, OpenText offers a white glove service to keep business continuous. Essentially, you're picking up the phone when something happens, and our team of experts is using your last backup to spin up your systems in the OpenText infrastructure. You'll have remote access to all of those protected systems, and this is where we do ongoing checks of your environment. We can do ongoing testing whenever it's necessary to keep you ready for any audits, whether it's internal or external, and give you that confidence that your systems can be back to you under a guaranteed SLA. We offer it in 24 or 48 hours. And our team is available around the clock. So obviously, you're not planning a disaster between the hours of 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So whenever you pick up the phone, our team springs into action and returns your system to you, so you can access your precious data. And that's really the approach: backup for everything. And then if you have more stringent backup requirements or downtime requirements, we have an option to get your data back even quicker. So just to recap the best practices, the 3-2-1 rule: you have production, you have your on-site backup, and your cloud backup. With having those different copies, what we're doing is just eliminating a single point of failure, or leaving you in a situation where you don't have access to your data and you have to start over again. Immutable backups is a must these days with the rise of ransomware. Carbonite Server has ransomware protection built into our solution, and all of our cloud backups cannot be modified. Having a holistic plan for your organization, layering threat detection, so your antivirus and your DNS protection, along with backup, really providing a powerful 1-2 punch, keeping bad things out. And then no matter what happens, you always have a pristine backup. Knowing your system, so layering backup, as well as any additional disaster recovery. So whether that's the white glove service through OpenText and Carbonite, or a high availability to give you more of an instantaneous snapshot view of your data. And then finally, testing it. You want to make sure that your investment works when the chips are on the table.